So I'm sure you've all seen the big story this week about Chris Brown and Rihanna. All the facts are not in yet, but one thing we can say for sure is if this is what it looks like it is, the saddest part about it is that this is not an uncommon story at all. One of the landmark documents in hip-hop journalism was the Vibe magazine feature named Love Hurts that focused on Big Pun's abusive relationship with his wife Liza Rios and showed how widespread that problem is both in and out of the music industry and how often people remain silent about it on both sides. So this week, instead of making another video where I just run my mouth, I decided to try and do a little journalism and speak to the woman who wrote that Vibe article, Elizabeth Mendez Berry, to see if she could give us some perspective on this current situation.
Wow. The piece that I did for Vibe, Love Hurts, was about domestic violence and violence against women as a whole in the hip-hop industry specifically, and then more broadly in Latino and African-American communities. Big Pun's widow, Liza Rios, there was a DVD that she released that featured footage of Big Pun abusing her. And the response to that was very, very swift and very negative towards her. And there was a really strong sense that why was she airing her dirty laundry? Why was she talking about this? And I heard that and I felt like clearly there was something deep there. And what I found was that her case was not the only one. And I found also how hard it is for women who are in those situations to share their stories and to be believed or to be respected, even if they are believed. And the response to the story was a really big combination, I would say. A lot of people loved it. A lot of people were really excited that it was in Vibe. I think Vibe got the most letters to the editor that it had ever gotten for the story. And that was exciting also because I think that sometimes we don't give our readership the credit it deserves. At the same time, there were plenty of people who said to me, why are you airing our dirty laundry? And why are you putting this out there? And there were definitely some people who tried to intimidate me and things like that. So it was a powerful experience. You know, I love Pun too, actually, as a rapper.
Right.
I mean, he's amazing. But that doesn't mean that he doesn't have a complicated identity. And he's somebody who had been through abuse himself. And he was never able to get past that in his own life. But for his wife, for his widow, to end that cycle of violence and prevent her own children from becoming a part of it, she had to speak out. Mm-hmm. And she was in a unique position because her husband was so famous, you know, and everybody's going around saying this guy is a hero. Okay, as a rapper, maybe he's a hero, but that doesn't mean that's all there is to him. You know, today I went back and I looked at some of the data that I found when I was researching my earlier story. And I found that things have actually gotten worse. The number one cause of death for African American women between the age of 15 and 45 is intimate partner violence. You know, That's the number one reason women, the age of Rihanna, African American women, get killed by the men they love, the men they sleep with, the men they live with. So, I mean, I guess the first thing is innocent until proven guilty. We don't know all the details, and there are a ton of different, you know, rumors and innuendo surfacing, and so I'm hesitant to make any statement about what actually happened. But what I can say that really saddened me was the degree to which within hip-hop and the R&B and the so-called urban community, there was a really strong backlash, not against Chris Brown, but against Rihanna. The fact that we minimize this and the fact that we're so unwilling to accept the possibility that maybe she didn't deserve something like that. You know, that's something that really struck me, and I hope we can use this as a beginning of a conversation, you know.
I mean, what do you say? I see so many reactions on the blogs and stuff where people are, and a lot of it comes from women saying, well, if you expect to be equal, then if you hit him, you got to expect he's going to hit you back. He's got to be able to defend himself. What do you say to someone who's looking at it that way?
You know, I think there are definitely women who hit men, and there are men who hit women, and there are, you know, sometimes they wind up in a relationship together, and it's not pretty. I don't think that women are immune to the messages that we learn in the society. I know myself, I grew up in a household that was a little more violent, and I was violent. I definitely internalized those lessons. And so I'm responsible for my actions. If I hit my husband, he has every right to be upset with me. But the question is, does he have the right to hit me back? No. Each person is accountable for their own response. and the choice that they make. In a relationship, when you get upset, there's a ton of different responses you can have. And the question is, if I'm 5'4" and I weigh 120 pounds and my husband's 6'5", it's not an equal and opposite reaction.
Right.
And this is something that I think is really important. After you hit somebody for the first time, that usually escalates. You know, it becomes easier. Then you might do it again, and you might do it again, and you might do it again, and then you might hit her with something else. Every story, every example of those types of cases, of people's abusive relationships, it starts with one hit. My point is that it's not right for anybody to hit anybody else. And that if men are so vulnerable in their masculinity that if a woman punches them, they have to flatten her on the ground.
Right.
What is that saying about them?
Right. It's like kind of how you need a fix from a drug. You need a fix to take away the sense of powerlessness you have in whatever the situation is.
Exactly.
And it gives you that short-term rush.
And that's short-term. And then what's next? Oh, I'm so sorry, baby. You know, let me give you some flowers and it'll never happen again. And then it happens again. And you know what? It happens again worse. And that's something that I wanted to emphasize, because some of the blogs will talk about how, you know, I might hit her back occasionally, but it's not a big deal. You know, it won't happen again. And I'm sure that's true for some people, but in the vast majority of horribly abusive cases, they started with a simple single punch and then the words, "I'm so sorry, I'm never gonna do it again." It affects everybody. The number one cause of death for women ages 15 to 45 is intimate partner homicide by men, right? I don't care about, to be honest, I wish them the best, but honestly, I don't really care about Rihanna and Chris Brown. I care about fulanita eta who lives around the corner, who is dealing with the same relationship and who actually isn't going to be, you know, covered by MTV when she walks out the door with bruises on her face. Hopefully, we can use this moment as an opportunity to start being honest with ourselves about why we're so unwilling to acknowledge female experiences and female pain.